going to call to order the Fairground Management and Event Corporation FMEC Board of Directors meeting for Thursday, June 18th at 5 p.m. If everybody stand for the pledge. Ron? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So, roll call, Mary?
Okay, John. I'm here. Terry.
No.
Pat.
Here.
Sheila. Randy.
Yeah?
Gail. Here. Ron.
Here.
Keith. Dennis.
Present?
I think, is Larry there?
Larry's here.
Yes, sir.
And then anybody else?
Yeah, Natalie Booker. I'm here on behalf of Doug Beachy.
Okay,
So-
and Sheila is just coming on.
Okay, so Sheila's here. Ron, we'll share this mic. Natalie, you need to use that mic.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
Approval of the minutes from the May 21st meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any questions on the minutes from last month?
Can you say who did it? I didn't catch it wrong.
Ron and Pat.
So, Ron and Pat. Okay, thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Treasurer's report. Terry would have gotten that. I talked to Joey a few times today, but,
We sent it to Joey also. So
okay. So where we at? Don't you probably know?
in the right-hand corner is where we're at, I think, and that's after everything's paid.
So, obviously, there's $8,000 in pending, so the remainder, as of today, this is out of the infrastructure account, not the account with the lease payment goes into. We should have about $21,277.23. And we have $8,000 pending on that.
Yes,
So that work that we're still doing.
yes.
Right. But other than that, we're done. Okay. So 8,000 minus the 21 should give us our balance. So about
13.
13
13,777.
is about what we're realistically looking at. Right. Is there a motion to accept the financial?
So moved.
Pat?
Second.
Seconded by Ron. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Next item on the agenda is claims and expenditures, which we have it's actually down lower, but I'd like to get approval on it since it's under expenditures. We need to upgrade the electrical panel at the grandstand. Is that,
Correct.
so the electrical panel is fried.
Which one is that?
The new one that got put in about a year ago, what happened is they overloaded the bottom and it burnt the whole bottom of the panel out.
There's a picture.
I sent pictures.
Yeah, where's that located at, Larry? Which, I'm trying to,
It's the, you know where the coffin box is
Yeah.
located?
yeah.
It's the one right above that
Right
fed
above.
over to the grandstand.
Okay.
Right up by the pole.
Yeah.
Grass area.
Wow. 200 amp?
Yes, it's 200 amp.
And what's the estimate? 20?
$2,600 some odd dollars to take it out and put it and then redo it.
You're gonna go with, what size? 320?
They were going to, it was being sized right back the way it was because it's just the way everything got loaded at the bottom. Instead of coming in and splitting it out, they did one side of it.
Oh, okay, it wasn't balanced.
It wasn't balanced, is what
Yeah,
happened.
yeah, okay.
So
Understood.
it just, yeah, someone started plugging in and didn't balance it out when they did.
Right, yep.
So we need because right now there's no, not that we have any events at the grandstand, but there's no power there. So that's completely out of whack. So we're gonna need a motion to approve the $2,600 to replace that panel.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Dennis,
Second.
seconded by Ron.
May I ask a question, please?
No questions. Yes.
So this is Sheila.
Hi, Sheila.
I'm wondering, are we going to do that in-house through Larry's team, or are we outsourcing that to an electrician?
That was the bid that we received from
Hiram?
Marquis Electric. While they're out there doing the other stuff, they were gonna do that,
Okay, thank you.
okay?
Yep, thanks.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Was there any other claims or expenditures we need to?
Well, we're gonna have a claim for the campground that happened this weekend where
Right.
we had a whole line. I don't have the bill for that, but it's all up and running now.
We'll take care of that when we
Yeah.
get.
Other than that,
Right.
no, everything
Okay.
else is right there.
Sounds good.
I'll talk to you after the meeting about that, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Committee reports, executive committee. Regarding, we need to replace the utility rep on the board, and I guess I'm looking for council recommendation. Does the board submit, replace this person, or do the commissioners replace this person? Or, do we submit somebody to the commissioners for them to,
Well, the utility is a.
turn your mic on? Oh, go near your mic.
Utility is a position that's set up by the board. So we don't, you mean the company?
We need a person.
We need a
It
person.
doesn't matter which utility, it's not specific.
Okay, well, if we decide which company, then the company would appoint somebody. They would say, well, we want this person, and we could ask for somebody, we can always do that, but it's up to them to appoint them. The positions are appointed to
Right.
this board by the organizations.
I think it was specified either NIPSCO or Kankakee Valley.
I think it was any
Two.
public utility.
Well,
It was-
Is the way it was worded.
I think it's any.
Right, that was our intention, but,
Yeah.
so for our next meeting, we need to figure out which direction we want to go. So,
NIPSCO didn't want anybody?
that's not what they said. Joe that was on here got transferred from the facility over here, and his replacement was
Ben Anderson.
Ben Anderson. He's already gone. And so now they got a new replacement, and I've reached out to their public relations person and talked to her at length about this, that we need to get somebody. She was gonna try and talk to somebody else and do this. Now, there is a person at NIPSCO that I think works over at the training center that has kids in 4-H and horse and pony and different things. So they've said, well, this guy might be interested if it didn't, so
Was that Daryl Marks?
I think it might be.
I'm texting him now.
Okay, so then if he's willing to do it and NIPSCO wants to bring him in, but, she said she was gonna reach out or do something, and I never did hear anything back, so it was kinda like, just got,
So, may I ask another question?
sure.
When the board was forming, the idea of having someone from NIPSCO or a utility seemed like a good idea, and I know the thought behind it, or at least what you all shared with me, I wasn't around at the time, was because the NIPSCO apprenticeship program building is nearby, and we thought they would lend some of their support to us. I don't know that has worked out, so is that the best use of that particular seat? Because our board isn't enormous, and everyone has a role to play. I'm just not sure having a NIPSCO representative or any utility, like water or sanitation
Right,
or.
but it's
you know,
specified
if
as
that's,
right.
if that's still an important aspect for
Right.
a board member to, or is it a citizen who's interested in 4-H or a citizen or a parent, for example,
Right.
maybe that's a person who would be more interested and willing to serve. I mean, the fact that we've had so much turnover in this particular utility position leads me to believe that there may be some citizens whose kids are involved in the fair, for example, who would love to participate. And just a thought.
I agree.
Well, it says in here in the bylaws.
Well, bylaws can be changed, I guess. That's what I'm saying. Is that, and maybe this is the time for us to say, hey, that was a good idea 3 years ago or 2 years ago when we formed. Maybe it's not as effective as we thought it would be. And is it possible that we consider amending our bylaws to indicate a change? I think a parent would be a great.
Right.
But one thing we did say is that would not be changed, that we would not change the structure of the board. That we talked about that. Now, I know that you can still change bylaws, even when you say that. But that's what we did say. But let me read what it says here, just so we have a clear understanding, because I think you need to hear this, Sheila. It says, a representative of either an investor-owned utility or membership cooperative utility appointed by county commission. So that's what it says.
Right, but I think our point, the reason for the I mean, everybody here knows that we were hoping that with the training center there, with NIPSCO there, that we'd be able to benefit from that, and they would benefit from it with their apprentice program, and that has not worked out at all. And now we're having trouble just engaging them, getting a representative here. So Kankakee REMC is very involved out at the fairgrounds, have been for a long time, and it's not to say that we don't want a member from there, but I also think that what Sheila said, that maybe if we could go in a different direction, and if this person that you just mentioned, was interested, he could come on either as a NIP there, it doesn't matter, but you know what I'm saying, since he's an involved parent anyway, so.
And he's working for NIPSCO now.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So we'll need to figure out what we would need to do if we did not appoint someone from a public utility. So, right? Because, I mean, we'd need to change the bylaws before we brought somebody else on.
Yep.
Right, Sheila?
Yeah, so a change to the bylaws would seem to me that there could be a motion, a second, some discussion, and we change the language to make it a board member who might have more skin in the game. It could be a business, a small business member, someone from one of our school corporations, parent group. I mean,
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. It says approved by or appointed by the commissioners. So
Right.
it's not.
That's why I wanted to read that.
So can we change the bylaws? Because if we are, the commissioners aren't going to make any appointments. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just see if she's paying attention. You see what I'm saying? It's not really our position to
Is Mr.
fill.
Beege there? So can he advise us?
No, his one of his assistants are here.
Okay, so perhaps we ask for a brief opinion on the process to change the board makeup.
Right.
It seems to me it would just be a motion and a support to change, to remove maybe just that utility language and just say a community member, interested parent or somebody like that. Just a thought.
Yeah, we think a formal opinion.
So we're going to get an opinion on that, and then at next month's meeting,
Okay.
we'll get that all taken care of.
But we haven't even reached out to the REMC, right? Kankakee Valley. We've only reached out to
Right,
NIPSCO.
because since we only meet once a month,
Yeah.
I was still talking to the NIPSCO rep last month.
Well, before we go changing anything, it just seems like we ought to
Right.
at least give them an opportunity.
Well, we can do that, absolutely. Or even this person that you
Yeah.
texted, so.
Yeah.
But the idea is we were looking for somebody that, and I think and Joe did a good job, but he couldn't answer the questions.
Right.
You know, and you said, hey, this is what we're looking for. He's like, well, let me go talk to somebody. We want the guy that he's gonna go talk to. Just saying.
I know that guy.
I agree with Randy.
Yeah.
I know
So-
that guy.
All right, so we'll bring that up again next month, and we'll have an opinion on that. Finance Committee, we already talked about the money. So just so, I think last month, I just want to make sure I'm not getting ahead of myself. The rent payment had not been deposited in our account. Swanee said, I'll talk to the farmer, and we were pretty sure that he had paid, but it just wasn't in our account. And so, of course, typical Swanee fashion, I get a copy of the check, I get a copy of the deposit slip, I get a copy of the guy handing the check to I mean, so there's like proof of everything. So is what happened is Diane in the commissioner's office they just put it in the wrong account. So when they sent it over to the auditor for deposit, it got in the wrong account. So we've got that money in there, and we don't have a financial on that, but it should be in the neighborhood of 50 to $55,000 in that account now, because we're getting $500 a month for the cell tower, and we're getting, it's right around $21,000 for the land lease. So we got two payments in there, plus the cell tower's racking up every month, so. Facilities and technology, an update from Larry. Larry, you want a microphone? There you go.
Pretty much everything that we've started is moving forward. We've got
You can never be a politician.
never. We've got everything moving forward. We had some stone and some asphalt grindings dropped out there today so we could clean up a few other areas. We've got the asphalt grindings, the water line is all completed. Swanee's got it, his water line's all hooked up and everything, so everything's
Wash
been laid.
racks in.
Wash racks in. They started doing some, the asphalt grindings back there. So we've kind of pulled back a little bit because with the fair not happening, we're trying to catch up on some of our other buildings that we kind of let go a little bit. The highway's taking care of some things, but Dwayne and myself we've got the calendar now from Sarah. So we're going through it, and we're going to look at what things are coming up, and we're going to keep moving forward with everything that we've got going out there. One thing I would like to know is, not the fair's not going, we left the fencing up for the fair. Can we take,
The grandstand, that's the next item on the agenda.
okay, because we want to kind of move forward so we can do some of those things and get that cleaned up.
Right.
And as me and Dwayne talked, what we're going to do is we're going to take it in steps. We got that roadway in the back. We know it was started. We've got to get that finished up. We're going to try and get rid of that hill. Something that we talked about with Bob, we're going to take the containers that are back there and also this semi-trailer. We're going to drop the wheels off the semi-trailer. We're going to tuck everything back into the woods so nothing's exposed out there anymore. It'll all be tucked back in there. When we do the grindings, we're going to put a platform in.
Yeah.
Everything will be on top of skids, on top of the asphalt grindings. That way, it's not out, it's easy access, ground level. At that time, we can get with the parking lot finished up. It's got the rough grade in, so we just got to get a finished grade to it where we move the berms. Like I said, we're moving forward with everything we've got going. We're keeping the mowing up and stuff, so I think we've done a pretty good pace at it. I am working with Jay. We're getting the drawings done for the bathroom so we can bring it to the board to get approval on what they want at the grandstands. It does have to go down for state release and stuff. Not knowing what's going on with the kids for next year because they're talking about such a shift on school, the kids going back to school and stuff. I don't know how much availability we'll have with the building trades class, but I am working with them to see if we do get them. We'd like to bring them in to do a lot of the work on getting it done. That'll cut down a lot of the cost.
Right.
So,
Definitely.
but that's the process. Now, can I talk about Pioneer?
It's next on my list.
Okay, so I won't talk about that either.
Just stay where you are.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions on what he just talked about? What's going on out there? So the next item on the agenda is, Larry and I have talked and been out there, and I talked to the fair board when I was there. and everybody, and with the fair not happening this year, we'd like to remove all the fence around the grandstands. The cable, the post, the green fence, take all that, would it be all of it?
All of it. All of it.
All of it.
Yes. What I did is, when I was pricing that temporary fencing, now I got a hard price of $15,600 to actually,
Buy it.
we could buy it. And it would be a temporary fence we would own, and it was enough to do every place that we had that fence, and you could alter it to anything you wanted, because we're talking with Fair Board members out there, so they wanted to move a lot of it anyway. So at times they could put in a golf cart parkings around some, like the horse and pony, different. We would be able to move that. Then when they have functions like the demo derby in, I think it's August or September, I think it is.
September.
They could actually shift that fence however they wanted to make up for, if you want a beer garden or whatever. So, I got a hard price, and it was $5,000 to run it every year. They set it up, they tore it down.
And you got it for
But-
6 months.
And you had it for 6 months. But like I said, I got a price if we wanted to buy it for $15,600, something like that. So, 3 years you had it paid for.
Right. But you gotta store it, maintain.
Well, we could store it, but we also have a lot of buildings that we could just clean out a little bit and actually get it into the draft horse area, in the back draft horse. Nothing gets used inside those after fair. They park the storage inside the main, but those stalls, nothing gets used. And I measured out, we could use one side of them stalls and fit every bit of that fence in and just have to pull it out.
So with the fair board, do you guys see a need for that fencing for the remainder of the year? At one time you said something about bringing people in a certain way or leaving one side out.
Yeah, but since fair has been canceled, we don't have that need anymore, so.
So now would be a time and then we can
Yeah.
transition into the temporary fence or these.
Sure.
But, well, it's temporary fencing whether we own it or rent it. But
Exactly.
that is the way, it's
Yeah.
a 6-foot high, it looks like a construction fence,
Yeah.
but that's the way to go out there. So, I mean, that way we can,
What's nice about it, you can get it's a screen that actually mounts to it. It's a heavy-duty screen that they put on, so if we want to, we could actually purchase a screen and screen just certain sections off. You didn't have to have it all screened off. So,
And our fair board also talked about this, Larry, and one of the things that they had looked at was buying some of that construction screening
that's the,
with the grommets in it.
yeah.
And to do all the way around the existing, where it is now, it's about $3,000 to have that, but it could be, easily put up and down with just some wire ties.
exactly.
I don't know where we're gonna get the money to either purchase or rent that other fence
The
in,
fence.
but as long as we have it,
We would have to, have to be something we build into next year's budget.
okay. And we
So
would-
I don't know that we need any fencing still this year.
In the interim,
That's-
right.
Even the people that are talking about having something out there, an event, they're talking about doing like a car event, where you stay by your car or something. We know we still have the social distance, so.
Well, and even with this, event, every time the demo derbies have, we put up temporary fence anyway with snow fence, because it was just a temporary type blockade. And we never really got into that fence that was there, so, anything that happened, we could temporary fence with some posts in, T-posts.
Yeah. Could you maybe email me what that is so I can show the fair board what
yeah.
exactly you're talking about? And
Yeah.
I don't see it as an issue.
And you guys are there next week? You meet next-
Yeah.
So maybe you could just, not necessarily that we need approval, but
No.
we want to make sure that we're not doing something, because Larry's plenty busy right now, so it's just
Yeah.
something that we just want to,
I just don't want, before something happens, an event, if they do bring an event, I don't want to be at the last minute because there's holes, they settle in, we don't want to have
Right.
tripping hazards, we want to make sure we get everything out, get it filled, get it done right. And just make sure, I'd like to get it cleaned up.
Yep.
There-
Yep.
I appreciate that.
All right.
I don't think that's gonna be an issue, but if you just
Yep.
let me
Yep.
run that by them.
Yep.
all right. The next item on the agenda, it's not on the agenda, but it's the next item we're going to talk about, is Pioneer Land. Larry met with Dick Reel out at Pioneer Land, and they got a grant, and I don't know if you, Ron, if you want to talk about it, but they got a grant to put in about 600 feet of 5-foot wide sidewalk. So,
It would be back in a park where the pea gravel and stuff is.
oh, microphone. Talk, you can't hear you.
Yeah, it would be back where the pea gravel is, so that if the handicapped people want to go through there or something, it's easy to push a wheelchair, being 5 foot wide, and it wouldn't cost this committee or the county or anybody else that's paid for it.
Grant money,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So it's my understanding that Pioneer Land is under the Fair
Correct.
Board, so I think the approval would have to come from the Fair Board.
Well, as
Yeah,
far
both of us,
as, they
actually.
might need to go to you too,
Yeah, both of us
but,
actually.
right, but
Yeah.
FMEC controls everything, so,
Right.
right, but they're, right.
Yep.
But evidently, they got a grant for this sidewalk, so.
Okay.
I don't think does anybody here have an issue with them putting sidewalks through there so it's a little bit more
I have
accessible?
issues that they should put it everywhere.
Yes.
And the only requirements that I'm gonna ask for, since we got the drawings, I'm gonna actually mark it up that I'd like to have at least 2 2-inch lines underneath certain sections.
Right.
Because if we have to do an electrical line, or we have to do a water line or something, that we can actually get underneath the concrete
Right,
and just.
it's a good idea.
It's just a sleeve. That'll save us a headache later on, down the road.
Larry, do we know where all the utilities are located at in Pioneer
I
Land?
walked it with Dick the other day. I
Okay.
said, they're only going down 4 inches. Most everything we
Yeah.
have there is about 6 inches
Should be.
down. I said, you're gonna have to be careful in some areas, but we kind of laid out those areas for them. And the high voltage portion, it's down at least a foot.
So you don't see any issue with it
I
at
don't
all?
see any issues, but it's just like for future, I'd like to have some future sleeves underneath the
Yeah.
concrete in areas, which 2-inch PVC pipe is really cheap.
Right.
And for later on down the road, it'd save us a lot of
Right.
headaches.
So is there anything that you can see as a negative to this? It seems
No,
like it's
no,
all
actually, I
good.
said, I kind
Yeah.
of like the idea because
Yeah.
they said they're going to stamp the concrete, so it's going to not be just a state.
Oh, wow.
It's going to be all stamped concrete, from what I understand, so
Cool.
it's going to look, it would look good, it's going to help us out because you don't have the weeds that are growing all over the place.
Sure.
It's going to be a lot cleaner looking back there.
Good.
It's, maintenance-wise, I think it's going to be a good addition.
Appreciate that.
All right, so what's the board's pleasure?
Do we have to prove anything?
Well, I think we need to approve it.
I move that-
He's got a drawing there if anybody wants to see what it looks
No,
like.
I move that we accept the plans for including sidewalks at Pioneer Land.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Motion by Pat, seconded by Dennis. Is there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Thank you. Do you need that for the fair meeting?
Be
You
helpful,
can-
yeah.
He emailed it to me, so.
Now, one thing I do know, Dennis, I don't know if you know, but Mr. Reel did say that they want to start sometime late next week or the following week or something. The guy has it in his schedule to get that going.
Okay.
When he was talking to me, and that was just yesterday, he was talking to me about it or something.
We might need to reach out to,
Has he talked to Donnie or anybody about this, do you know?
I talked to Don. I did talk to Don a little
he
bit
knows
about it.
about it?
So I believe Don knows enough about it. But like I said,
Okay.
it's got to go in front of you guys' board, I believe. So
Okay.
okay.
Right. Sounds good. Marketing and communications / event planning.
okay, just a couple things. I did send out the RFP, and I got a couple phone calls with questions, just clarification of, what we were doing out there. So I just kind of explained to them the organization. One of the guys wasn't familiar. So they're considering, both of them are considering sending in a proposal, but we have nothing yet in writing, so I don't have any estimates for you at this time. Hopefully next month we will have some. And my other topic for tonight is, I'm thinking maybe it's time now that we go ahead and start to go further with our process to look for the manager or executive director that we want to have out there at the facility, so that we have time to get the person ready. So in 2021, we'll be ready to roll with scheduling and reservations and all the planning for the facility. So I'm wanting the board to give me some feedback and direction on if we should move forward with that at this time. We did have 3 candidates that were lined up, that we were considering for interviews, and that's where I would like to just pick up with that, contact those people, and see if we can get some dates scheduled to interview.
It's your pleasure. Does anybody have any questions? Conversation about it? Here's the the thing is with everything kind of opening up, right now, the Fair Board is doing all the scheduling, everything that's going on out there. Now, we do have, we have a shared calendar, so we can see everything that's going on out there. But the idea is at some point, the FMEC is going to take over a lot of the scheduling. It's not to say that the fair wouldn't still, have events or something out there, but we would take over the scheduling and handling that. So one of the things that, with that, Pat, is since we know that, well, we might have an event, something this year, if they come through, but it kind of came to me that maybe we need to start a part-time person. Is Sarah full-time or part-time?
She's part-time.
Right.
Yeah.
So a part-time person to go in and learn the schedule with Sarah and just kind of do that, and because it's almost two different jobs. One's a scheduler and events and everything in the fairgrounds, working with Larry on what needs to be done and everything else. And the other person's going to be attracting people in. So maybe, what does everybody think if you split that into two different categories?
Well, I can see the person that we bring in as the director in today's world with technology. I could see that person doing scheduling also. I don't see that being separate because they're going to be the ones going out getting the people anyway, in most cases. But, you'll have some people calling in wanting things, wanting dates and so forth. But I think with today's technology, I don't think you have to have two positions. That's just my feeling on it. And knowing some of the other executive director positions that I work with in the community, a lot of them do a lot of the, I'll call it administrative functions because of the technology that's available. It's not time consuming.
I'm just trying to think of a way we can get somebody in there when we don't really have a lot of big events and we're not going to have that person going out beating the drum trying to bring everybody in, because right now, one, we can't, two, we don't, the facility isn't quite up to where it needs to be. So that's what I was thinking, but I'd still like to get somebody in there. And that's why I was thinking if we started off with a part-time person, now it could be the same person, but I don't know if we'd be able to get them. But
Yeah.
to do this and just kind of slowly ease into it.
So I have a few thoughts on that, if I could just contribute.
Sure.
So from my understanding, it usually is a year out before we can arrange for any good events anyway. A lot of the shows and things that conventions, conferences, they are planning their calendar for 2021 already. It seems to me that we have a few prongs that a really good executive would be able to manage. One would be marketing, setting up a website, beginning to create some branding and marketing for our family-centered fair property, and then begin to go out and market. Learn the grounds, be comfortable walking with Larry and Randy and whoever's out there making decisions on projects, to come to the board and make recommendations. So it seems to me that if we wait too long, we're going to miss an opportunity for 2021. We'll be then scurrying, trying to get our ducks in order when people have already made their plans for 2021. So I don't know that we need to hire this month, but I would say certainly by early fall, we should probably bring on a person, give them their charges. There's marketing, there's branding, there's a whole suite of work and products that will have to be developed before they can go out and say, this is our property, we need good photographs, a gazillion. I can just, it seems like there's an awful lot of groundwork to do before we can actually get out there and say, this is our property, this is our calendar, and how do we get it shared with not only our community, but other communities nearby as well. So just a thought.
I'm agree with you, Sheila, 1,000% on all of that. There's so much groundwork to be done. She needs to be familiar with the area. If it is somebody that, comes from outside the area, for example, they need to get familiar with the county. And not only this county, but the region around us, because when you're marketing to the county, you're marketing also the region. So there's a lot to be done, Sheila, and I totally agree with you on it.
I guess,
I just think we wait too long, we're gonna be back in the same position.
Right.
With things already booked in other locations that really wanted to come to LaPorte County but didn't know we were open for business, or we didn't have all of our even the website, for example, that should be a place that's marketing our property, working with the Fair Board to say, like, how do we make this work? There's a lot of relationship management and relationship development that should happen, visiting the other fair corporations around us to find out what they offering, so we aren't, providing unnecessary competition, but we're also finding out what's our sweet spot. And so to me, again, not waiting till, January 2021 is too late, because the big things have already made their plans. So I think we would be wise to begin to, Pat talked about interviewing and things like that. I think we would be wise to begin that process and be ready to say, we're moving to the next phase. And it might not be absolutely, faultless, because we are in a kind of a startup mode as far as our local economy goes with COVID. But I do think we need to be really sensible and just say, here's the running room that we need to really be prepared for a full, for weddings, for example, for baby showers in February 2021. That's not that far away, and we need to have somebody who's positioned to begin to bring in revenue, fill our property up, and make sure it becomes that community asset that we all have as our vision.
I agree with all that. I agree with it 100%, not quite as much as your 1,000%.
Yeah, my 1,000 is
I'll
quite
give it
a-
100%. But here's the issue that I look at is we have about $45,000 in the account for that position right now, and if we spend that, we generate, that account right now is generating about $27,000 a year. So, and we've gotten a payment from, because of the COVID-19, the downturn that the Fair Board has had, we've received, I think $700 and some, our portion of the initial 15% of revenue sharing. So we don't have money to really.
Well, we have some potential community partners, remember, that they're waiting for us to come to them with the proposal, and I don't want to do it until we are going to do this.
All right. You better have them in your pocket, though.
Well, I'm looking for the county, you put money to the infrastructure, that's great, but there's more that has to be done than infrastructure.
And there's a lot more that needs to be done on the infrastructure too, so.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, that's what I'm just, the whole idea is, and I think is what the council wants, they'd like to see that position kind of more self-funded out of revenue, rentals, the farm lease. That's why we put that into the other things, that a lot of that money, so that the county's
That's
putting,
fine,
right.
but you gotta get the revenue coming in.
Well, I
That means
get
you gotta
that.
get the person there, and I think you need something to jumpstart us. And I would say in a year or two, or maybe even a year, that person could self-fund. But we gotta get them in there, they gotta get some
All right.
events here.
So what do we want to shoot for? We want to shoot for September, October, November? What?
September, I would like to shoot for September.
September?
Yeah, I think Pat's right. It will be self-funded, because that person's responsibility will be to build a revenue model that is, bringing money in so that we can support personnel, we can support projects. The county's, gravy train is not going to last forever. We all know that, and we appreciate the investment that the taxpayers have put into the property. They may have to help us, with a bridge contribution, so that we can bring on a talented person who can then build that revenue model, and then we will be backing away from needing taxpayer support for, unless there's large projects or capital needs that
Right.
come up.
And-
But I think building a revenue model is critical, and that person needs to have the running room before the season, so that we can begin, to get those, even the small things, the small events add up. A $500 family event or class reunion, those kinds of things, they will add up, and I think that's going to be part of our challenge to the county councils to say, we have this vision. We think it's a sensible business proposal, but we need some gap dollars to help us create that revenue model.
So at some point towards the end of the year, then we're going to need to approach the council, because with the let's say $50,000 that we have right now, and the 26 that we'd get next year, or let's say 21 we'd get first of the year, and the rest of it trickles in. So we've probably got enough money to sit down and talk to somebody and get things started, but we're going to have to also, once we decide what we're doing, get on the agenda so that we get that funding. The last thing I want to do is kind of get the cart before the horse and hire somebody and get it going, and then for some reason, if the funding isn't there, the support funding, that we have to do something. So we need to, so as we get this started with the process, we also need to start talking to partners, and we need to get on the council's agenda, and then hopefully during budget hearings for the county are going to be the first 2 weeks in August. So hopefully we can maybe get something built into that. So
I just, if I may, I agree with everything that's being said. I guess I'm a little like Randy. I just don't want to set this person this up for failure.
We can't do that.
I don't want
Yeah, I
that.
would agree. We can't do that, and that's. I would agree, Dennis, that you're spot on. But I think that's an opportunity for everyone on this on our board to lobby people who are in decision-making positions on the county council, for us to present to them that we are not just. It's not some fly-by-night operation. We have a plan. This is how far we've executed with their initial investment, and then say we're now ready to bring on personnel who can help us build the revenue model, create the branding, and create a community center that we can all be proud of. I mean, they're reasonable people. I think that's not an unreasonable ask, because surely we already have one revenue stream, and that's the acreage. But surely there are. Based on the Fair Board's experience, there are other ways to bring in revenue, and we need to have a person that's their main responsibility.
right. So our goal is to shoot for September, and I'm 100% good with that. So we need to, since this is July, August, September, that's coming quick. So we need to get working on this. So we're going to have to do stuff in between the meetings and start working and getting it planned. And I'll start looking at some funding options from the county and talking to some people about getting that going in that direction. And at the same time,
I'll work on getting the interviews set up. First, it'll be with the executive committee.
Right.
So those 3 people will interview with the executive committee, and then the executive committee
Right.
can make the decision. So what I'll do is I'll send you all, the executive committee, an email asking for dates and times available. Then when I get those dates, I'll talk to the interviewees and let them slot themselves in those times.
And this person will be a contract person.
Contract, we
Right.
did agree on that.
Right. So,
And can we kind of maybe come up with some kind of budget also along with that? Because if we're going to redo the website, we're going to do branding, they got to have money to work with.
Right, and I do have one, and
Okay.
I gave it to you guys once before, but
Yes.
I can send it to you again.
Okay.
so
Yeah.
we'll need to get that on July's agenda to kind of iron that out and get that approved, the
Yeah.
salary and everything.
Yeah,
What
'cause
we're,
I think that budget and that salary is the number we're going to have to go to the council with, right?
Right. So I mean,
Yeah.
exactly. We got to know what our deficiency is there. So.
Yep.
Is there anything else on that? I think we made some good progress on that one.
Good.
Next item, old business, is the church horse and pony and rabbit lease. Attorney?
There's nothing new on that.
Microphone.
There's nothing new on that.
Okay. Can we, we're gonna need, just convey to Doug that, the sooner he can get that tied up, just so we know where everything is, because, I mean, there's nothing going on with the fair this year or anything, but, I know there was, one of the churches wanted to do some work, was willing to put quite a bit of money into their building to fix it up, and it's one that needs a lot of work. But they want a lease, and they're looking for more than a yearly lease. So they're looking for a multi-year. The problem is FMEC has a one-year lease currently, because we started out, and so that way we can change things and do things. But now maybe next year, FMEC would go to a multi-year lease, and then we could pattern the horse and pony and the rabbit and churches after that. In other words, I could see eventually that FMEC gets a longer lease with the fair board and the county, you know, as we kind of get all the things worked out. Wouldn't you agree, Sheila?
Yeah, I think I think we were smart in making sure we gave ourselves a little bit of wiggle room in case there was something we didn't anticipate was coming up, and I think we all agree that was smart. The goal eventually is that we become really stable, right? And you know, we become trusting partners, and you know, we're known in the community as being the place to hold an event, and you know, so I think these are all the steps along the way. Yeah, I would agree that eventually that it should be longer leases,
Right.
and that we put forth a very stable, that we're here for keeps. We're a well-run board and a well-run business organization.
Sounds good. Next item on the agenda is new business, the hold harmless waiver.
There is,
Does everybody have a copy of that?
Not with
Yeah.
us.
Yes.
Yes? Yes? Okay.
okay, so this is a hold harmless and waiver agreement for any events that.
Is your microphone on? Is that light lit up? Push that button in the middle. There you go.
There you go.
Okay, so this is the hold harmless and waiver agreement for any events that would be taking place during COVID, just to have people sign off on that they're willing to agree to operate within the guidelines that are recommended by the governor. This is the same agreement that the Fair Board is using, so we would recommend that they be the same and that the board would approve it for any events that do take place.
So this waiver is, I guess the word I'm looking for is generic enough, so it covers the Fair Board, it covers FMEC, it covers the county, so it covers, so it's just saying that it's a waiver, anybody that uses the grounds is not gonna bring anything against anybody out there.
That's right.
Okay.
When the governor decides everything's okey-dokey, this is no longer needed?
No, it's still.
But this specifically says we're in stage 3.
Well, that's.
So that, I mean, it'll take a different agreement.
No, it says an event, well, at the time when they made this.
Yeah, we were in stage 3.
It was in stage 3, right. So we would need to, we need to, thanks, Ron, I appreciate that. We need to, you see where that says that?
To update and adapt as the stages change.
Correct.
As the
So
governor changes.
but we need a generic, put some kind of generic phrase in there so that it's, that whatever the governor's stage is, so in other words, if he goes to 5 and opens everything up, but then it heats up again and he goes back down to a 3 or something. So in other words, he would follow the governors and the health department and CDC guidelines.
And there is a general statement in here. The event host is understanding that the governor's stages are subject to change, and that if the governor modifies the guidelines up to the date of the event, that the event host agrees to abide by those guidelines.
Right.
So there is a coverage in there, but
So what's everybody's pleasure? I see that.
I
But
think,
So, so Randy, the county is covered on this because it's a county property?
It's a, yeah, it says scheduled to take place on, and it says LaPorte County Fairgrounds. It's a waiver. It indemnifies I know that the county attorney has reviewed this, and
That was my next question. So,
yeah.
okay, as long as we've had a review,
And-
then I'm
and-
good with it.
and Doug
Similar to
reviewed
the
it.
Park board too. or the
Right.
parks.
What's that?
Okay.
What'd
It's
she
similar
say?
to the parks.
Right. And Attorney Novak on the Fair Board is the one that actually drafted this. So,
Great.
so what's your pleasure? We could always tweak it with the stage 3 and stuff, so we could update it with whatever the stage is if we're printing new ones or doing something. So what's your pleasure? I think we absolutely need this, and the way this is working right now, so there was a horse event out there a couple weeks ago. There's a food vendor thing out there this weekend. All those people that come out there have to sign this. So no one's allowed out there
You need
unless,
my dog, huh?
yeah. No one's allowed out there to come out there and do anything unless they sign a waiver, so. What's your pleasure?
Do we need a motion?
Yep.
Okay, motion to approve?
I'll second
We
it.
have a motion by Pat, seconded by Dennis. Is there any other questions on that?
I just think it would be easier if it be cleaned up and maybe even take that stage 3 stuff out and go under the event host understands the government stages and have that other stuff out.
I'll talk to Doug about
See if we
that.
modify. We'll go with this for now, and then we'll bring it up at next month.
Attorney Novak just would explain to us is he wanted to keep stages in, so when a person signed it, they actually knew what that stage was and
Right.
what some of the criteria was, so it was just for informative purposes.
All the other areas, the park department, everybody else, they signed it and approved it as it is, right? So I think.
So we can tweak it as it goes. I mean, if things open up, so.
You could fill in the blank what stage it is.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Next item under new business is Dwayne. This is Dwayne. Dwayne is taking Bob Young's place. So Dwayne is our go-to guy at the highway department now. So we had a meeting with him, Larry, Sheila, and I think county attorney and everything like that. So we all
Cool.
got on the same page and looking forward to it, so.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Anything that, just so that everybody with FMEC understands, that the highway department doesn't do anything at the fairgrounds unless Larry asks them to, a commissioner asks them to, or FMEC asks them to. So if the fair board wants something done by the highway department, they need to talk to us so that we know. We're just trying to help eliminate problems of scheduling and different things that people pull in, different directions and stuff like that, so. And that way, everybody knows what's going on.
Good to see Dwayne here. I don't believe Bob ever showed up.
Well, see, he'll probably never be back. So, we got him when he was fresh to the position, so he didn't know any better, so that's why he showed
There's
us.
food here.
He was told, yeah. There is. You
It
gotta
is,
find
but yeah, you gotta buy it.
it. Is there any other business, anything else?
Yes.
Yes.
I got a notice from Sarah Ott that Tim Olin would like to do a 4-day horse show on July 23rd through the 26th. And we didn't, they're also going to they want to use the campground and rent out stalls for overnight stays. And we didn't know how to price that.
Okay.
and what your
Randy,
thoughts
can
are.
you, we weren't really hearing Dennis very well at all.
Is your thing lit up?
It is. Is this better?
You got such a deep voice.
Any better?
Yeah.
Any better?
Can you hear him now?
No, that's not better at all.
Can you hear him
A
now?
little bit better, but not a whole lot.
Okay, Tim Olin would like to do a horse show, July 23rd through the 26th, so a 4-day horse show. He wants to use the campgrounds and wants to rent out the stalls for overnight stays. And so they're looking for some guidance on how to price that and whether the FMEC is okay with it. I think in the past, we've let a horse show go, and they were to keep that money and use it for future building.
What is this?
I don't
So the thing that we need to because after I came to the fair board meeting, we talked about that if, let's say, we use the H2O group, if his purpose of a horse show is to raise money to put into a horse barn, then the fees were waived. The problem that came out of that, and it's just a matter of having a talk with somebody, so we may have to have a security deposit or something, because the conversation I had with Tim, and Tim, a great guy, does a lot of stuff out there, but he said, everything we bring in, we're gonna take out. Well, Larry's guys spent like 2.5, 3 hours out there Monday cleaning up, and we shouldn't have to clean up after somebody.
I agree.
So that's the thing, especially if the fee's gonna be waived for an event, so we need to, if we're gonna waive a fee, we need to have some kind of a security deposit to make sure that they clean up.
And this is going beyond that too, because they're looking at the campground and actually can rent out campgrounds. So is that some revenue or chance for the FMEC to garner some revenue from that?
Can I speak?
Right, we're not gonna waive campground fees.
I was gonna say, now, this isn't the first time that Tim's done this.
Right.
And in the past, when I was out there doing maintenance out there, it's not just 5 or 6 campers that he brings in. They bring in 20 and 30 and 40 campers.
Right.
But they don't just park in the campground. They park all over the grounds on the grass, which they rutted up and everything. We've got to set some standards that these trailers can only be parked in the parking lots or in the campgrounds too. We can't let all the functions come in and they park all over the grounds on all of the grass areas. I mean, Dwayne will know, we've had to have the county out there to help. We've had to haul black dirt in. It costs us money doing that. By the time we're done, it could cost us a couple $100s to repair things because they don't follow the strict rules that have been set in place. And I know, again, you're going to allow all these campers in there. They're using a lot of water. They leave the lights on for 4 days solid straight.
Air conditioners running?
Air conditionings are running. Those bills are running up, and I'm the one paying them bills.
Well,
right?
but
I agree.
so if somebody's gonna use a campsite, then whatever the camp fees that are set, they would have to pay those fees, which would cover the electric, the water, and all that stuff. Just like the group that has a bunch of campers coming in now, right? The pipeline people?
Right, exactly.
Right, so there's no fees waived for that. It's only the
event itself.
The event fee is the only thing that can
Okay,
be
so-
waived. We're not gonna waive.
Can I ask the question now? They're coming in, they're renting the grounds. The ground, the money's going to the fair board then, right? For the rental? Because I guess my question is, the water, the electric, and everything that they're using out there, if I remember the contract says 15%, that's not covering any of the utilities that we're spending.
This is a 4-day, there's a big difference between a 1-day event and a 4-day.
Right.
Exactly. And it's just like the food vendors. I mean, there's a lot of water, there's a lot of electricity being used out there every weekend right now for 2 days straight. And those bills I'm noticing are going up and up and up.
The one thing about the H2O building, it's metered separately,
But that's
right?
that's only,
Just that.
only their food building. That's only their food building. The electric. Yeah,
Right.
that's just where he supplies food.
Yeah.
It's not electric in the hoop barns that they're leaving out. It's not all the ring barns. It's
Not the lights and
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So when we, and I'm not trying to deter any way, but when you say we're going to waive all the fees,
Nobody's ever said we're gonna waive all the
right?
fees.
It's just the electric
Right,
and the water,
right.
and I'll tell you go out there and you see it. They go up to the wash racks and everything, and they leave the water on. The water's just running down the roadway, so it's solid. Now we've got a water bill we're paying. It's not a well anymore, where it didn't really matter. Now it's a water bill. It's the city water bill. So they're not shutting those hoses off and they're just letting them run. I mean, we've got to think of all those things.
But we have to cover the cost, that's for sure.
Right.
So
That's what I'm getting at. We just got to make sure we cover the cost.
So what kind of deposit would you think would be appropriate?
Well, you're talking a 4-day show, though.
You're talking- yeah, you're talking-
$500?
What's that?
500?
For a 4-day show, I think that's low.
Okay.
And that's my honest opinion, knowing how much we're spending. My electric bill went up $400 since we've started having those food vendors. So that tells you, and that's only been how many weekends? 2 weekends now?
But are you guys, because see, that's the thing, the fair board's doing the scheduling,
Yeah.
we're paying the bills. Now, they used to do that, but somehow we have to build that cost or find a way to capture that
Yeah,
with to offset this cost.
we need to tweak the.
Can I ask how much rental for a campground site is? Because if we're looking at how much they're paying for a campsite, we're getting a percentage from Fair Board. Are we recouping anything close
Well,
that will help
standard
cover
campsite's
these
only $40 a
expenses?
night.
Yeah.
It's $40 a night, you're only getting 15% of $40.
Yeah.
So you're getting,
Oh, wow.
So
that's
but
what I'm saying.
But so the thing is we need to figure something out with the Fair Board, because if the Fair Board rents the campground, then that electric, because they're collecting money for the electric and the water, that's part of the camp fee,
Right.
right? I mean, that's the way you guys always did it, because originally you were paying it. So somehow that needs to be figured out, and that needs to come out of that fee. So we got to find a way that, because right now, FMEC's, lack of better terms, getting screwed out of this deal. But
Randy, can I suggest something? We have a finance committee, but we don't have anybody on it right now. And this does sound like something that they should be looking at to structure some sort of, for all of the stuff, really, they should be structuring and putting the guidelines in for how things are going to be paid to make sure FMEC is covering its costs for any event that's going out there. If the Fair Board's going to collect the money for the event and then give us 15%, we have to make sure our costs are covered.
See,
So I
this-
don't think the FME, I think the Finance Committee, that's something that they should be looking at.
And this is the issue, because the Fair Board's doing the rentals,
Right.
and we're paying the bills.
Right.
We don't have a person in place to do the rentals, and once we get the person in place to do the rentals, this is not going to be the issue, because we're going to have the $40 that has the built-in money to cover the water and the electric and the lights and all the other buildings and everything else. The problem here right now is we don't have a person doing it, they're doing it, and they're collecting the money, and that's the way it.
That's not a permanent situation. That
Correct, so that's what we gotta get rectified, but till then, you owe us electric. Lack of a better term.
We'd like
No,
to
we
invite
need
you to the next board meeting.
Yeah, we need to figure out, because the other problem is not every building has a meter on it. A lot of them do, but not everyone does, so if somebody uses a building, it's hard to say, this is what they used and go back and bill for it, so, we just need to get it straightened out. What are you doing?
The truth of the matter is Larry's the one that ends up paying these bills out of his budget, and he's the one that's going to have to go to the county council and say, oops, I ran out of money, and have to explain his way out. So from my perspective, and I'm sure everyone would agree, we need to solve this sooner than later, because
Right.
it's not, Larry's been really gracious in assuming all of this extra responsibility, but taking the money out of a budget that's already thin is going to get his budget in trouble quickly, and then he's going to have to face the county council to try to explain how we didn't factor in the utilities. For example, the water for the food shows of the last couple weekends. I mean, we need to solve that. I agree that with Pat's comment that the new person who comes on board will build a revenue model that makes sense and factors all these things in. But we now have a summer ahead of us where there's rentals that are going to be using utilities. How do we handle this as a bridge period to make sure that Larry's not ending up holding the bag on behalf of the taxpayers? That's not really a good thing.
Right. No, we need to get it figured out. Now, so the other part of it is so the agreement with the Fair Board is we get 15% of the gross and 40% of the net. So there's more money coming. It's just, it's going to come on the back end. But with the COVID-19 thing, they didn't have a lot of stuff going on out there. And now all of a sudden stuff's happening, and, we're kind of behind the eight ball now. So, so we need to have that conversation. So maybe if I need to come to the meeting again next Wednesday or whatever, talk to Steve and let me know. And
Yeah, I think it'd be good to maybe even talk to our attorney a little bit and
Right.
just say, you know, this,
Right. How do we work? Because I
Thought about
mean,
and-
right. It's
Yeah.
not. It's
yeah,
It's not a big issue to solve. It's just we want to get it solved before it becomes a bigger issue.
again, we need to trust each other, we need to be
Right.
partners in this, so, you know, we need to do that.
Yep.
But with that being said then, Larry, if you could kind of give me an idea of what you think, from what you see when they have these big shows, what kind of deposit we should get, you know, I'll
And
do
you,
that.
it's a 4-H function.
No.
Or is it, no?
No.
No, it's
No,
not a 4-H
it is not.
function.
They can't have that.
So,
No,
you know, I know a lot of deposits out there are, you know, minimal deposits, but I wouldn't take anything under a $500 deposit on anything coming in, because you don't know what you're gonna have to take care of. At least that $500 deposit will cover, you know, some of the electric and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah,
And if everything is fine when they leave, they get their money back.
Yeah,
yeah.
just hold a check, don't hand it right back to them.
So.
And we also talked about the finance committee. So when we have these shows that, like what Jim has done, and he's putting that money for the building, do we know how much money's in that building fund? Do we know if it's actually getting put in? Do we know?
I guess, I don't know about any of the other ones or whatever else is
Yeah.
there. I just know what's there with his, just because we've had a lot of conversations about it, but.
Okay. It just seems like that should be reported back to us so that.
But I thought when he was teaming up with the fair board, I thought you guys talked a lot of finances. Didn't you?
We talked a lot of finances.
Right, so.
Not necessarily got any of the information, but we talked a lot.
Well, there you
So-
go.
Well, and so one other thing I want to bring up, you know, we've got a lot of these groups that are coming in, and they're going to start holding things. They come in and they alter.
Randy, turn it on. Yep. There you go.
They come in, they alter the areas that they're in. You know, they'll do different things. We got to make sure that they're not coming in altering the area without bringing a plan to us to make sure that it's okayed what they're doing, because we're trying to clean things up out there. We don't want to add things to injury here.
So in this horse show then, would you be willing to meet with them and kind
Oh, yeah.
of go through all that?
Oh, yeah. You know,
Yeah.
and
We'll be
anyway,
able
just
to,
like with Dick Real, I said,
Yeah.
anything's going on, I've met with him at a certain time, we go through it, we walk through it, and then I got a hold of Randy right away and let him know exactly what was going on. You know,
Right.
just to get the
Good.
approval there.
Yep.
Okay, that's what I'll come back to and tell our board that this is some of the requirements and I'll
make
broach the
myself
subject of, you know, what's happening with electric bills and
Right,
and all that.
electric and the water.
Yeah. Yep.
We also need to, bear with me, there's an animal show coming up, isn't there? Like a swine, beef, sheep.
I didn't see that on the list.
I think there's the veterinarian chairman is doing a 3-day event where he's doing a sheep, a swine, and a beef show.
Right,
3 days in a row.
okay.
Yes.
Is that a 4-H event?
no,
Nothing can be
No, she's
labeled.
quick on them nose, boy.
Nothing can be labeled 4-H. But what I understand is the Shermans are going to donate any revenues back to the building fund of the fair board. So that money will be donated to the actual building fund, and that's where it'll remain.
And it's gonna be in the beef barn.
Yeah.
Isn't that where they're gonna have it?
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
what's the date on that?
I got it right here, 9th, 10th, 11th of July.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they're going to use a swine barn too.
That I had.
Yeah, for the swine show, I think is going to be in the swine barn.
Okay.
And they're going to use a show arena, and then the beef barn to bring the
I was
cattle
gonna get
over
with
to the show
Don and find out,
arena.
because we try to
Yeah.
get these areas.
And I don't know a
The
lot.
cattle show's not on here, though, I didn't see that. Do you know anything
Okay.
about it?
Cattle show got canceled, didn't it?
It did? I don't
I thought it
know.
was I thought it got moved.
I got nothing to do with it, so I
Okay, well,
have no clue.
it's not on any calendar for the rest of the year, so we're trying to, just so
Yeah.
you know, Dennis, and I'm talking to Don and Sarah too.
Yeah.
Is we're planning, between Dwayne and me, are planning on all these finishes things that we're doing
Sure.
against this calendar.
Right.
And things that my guys are doing, we're planning on this calendar. So if the Pioneer Land has something going on around, we're trying to not be in the way of people. We're trying to plan around this to make sure we've got it cleaned up, it's nice, and presentable for anytime someone's coming through there.
So everything needs to be on the calendar.
So we need to figure out also communications between like you and Don so that you have a better understanding of what's going to be used and
And
all
Don
that.
and we do talk.
Yeah.
I'll call him, but Sarah's been good about calling me if something comes up.
Okay.
It just said, you know, and I was going to call her tomorrow and talk to her because I didn't see the cattle show on here. I wanted to make sure that
I
something.
thought somebody said it might have got canceled when the fair got canceled, they canceled.
No,
But
this came up after the fair was canceled.
No,
so-
this is that
this
big
is-
show that Swanee
We're
talked
talking
about.
about the dairy.
Yeah.
The dairy thing. They postponed it.
Right, I think they moved
But
it.
it's not on the calendar.
It's not on the calendar now because I don't think
I don't think
they're
they
waiting
have
to see what happens with the COVID and what's going to
Okay,
open up.
okay, and that's,
Yeah,
and I just
Yeah,
want to
okay,
make sure
okay.
we keep it up to date, so.
yeah.
Okay.
We say beef, we're not specific if it's a milk cow or a beef
Yes.
cow, it's a cow, all right?
Huge difference.
Yeah, so. Does anybody have anything else?
Flagpoles, Gail?
Oh. Flagpoles.
Larry's doing an awful lot of property management, and I think that supports why we need to get somebody in there as soon as possible. He's got a lot spinning on his plate, and when I hear he's doing ground checks, that's something that this coordinator or executive director, whatever title is, needs to be doing. My other thought is, do we have a business plan? That could solve a lot of things too, and I don't know if we do. I know that Pat, you, and I'm sorry for the memory I have right now, you developed some really smart documents. So would it be possible to revisit some of those through the marketing group?
Sure. I was gonna give you guys a call later to see if you wanted to meet and talk
Okay.
about some of that stuff, get it back on the table.
So Gail, did you have anything on the flagpoles that we had talked about at the last meeting?
Of course, because of our face-to-face restrictions, I haven't been able to meet with anybody. The interest I have placed out there with council, our 4-H council, and a couple of the committees I have spoken to, they're on board with it. So please know I have every intention of trying to get those all sponsored within 4-H.
Fantastic.
Well, then I'm gonna move forward talking with the people and getting something kind of locked in and not commit to it, but at least get something from them so that if it does come about, we can move forward at a quick pace with it, okay?
So what are you looking at as far as a target, Larry?
You tell me, we'll put them in up until the point that I can't drill in the ground.
Okay, then I will begin communication on that. June, the end of the month here, we'll be able to meet with people face to face. I'm not a fan of asking people to support things financially unless I can do it face to face. So
I appreciate that.
I'll get rolling on that.
All right, thank you.
I don't have an issue with not being face to face. I'm just kidding. Does anybody have anything else? Dwayne, you got anything?
I'm good.
All right. Dwayne's hungry. He's disappointed we didn't have food. Is anything else? Mary, Sheila?
Nope, I think I got everything. I will be sending out some of the minutes ahead of time to Larry and Pat just to review them before I send it out, just because I'm writing as fast as I can and sometimes I don't catch as much. So Larry and Pat, just make sure you look at your emails. in the next week.
And just so you know too, to make it easier on you, it's being recorded by Alco, so you can watch it online and take the minutes from there.
Okay, no problem, Mary.
Anything else? All those, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.